All right, this is another one of these areas where I got a little carried away. So I decided this past summer that I was gonna polish the aluminum underneath the hood. That's quite a job. Doing this stuff, I've got about 60-ish hours in doing it by hand. So I thought I would walk you through the process in case anyone else is dumb enough to decide to attempt it. I think it's going to look good, all said and done. So, you have some challenges, some things like this where it's a very rough cast, or some parts like this where they're very technical. There's a lot of little places you have to get in to get them looking good. So I'll just walk you through the kind of the process over here. So you start off with sandpaper with something like the intake where it's that rough cast. I go all the way to 80 grit, and then I work my way up through the various grits, and I end up at 600 with this stuff. And then for some stuff, I went ahead and I go to the 1200. This is great stuff. It's very flexible. It's not cheap, but it does last pretty well. And then once we're done with the sanding, and I should note that the sanding is actually the tricky part, because you always think you're done and it's tempting to skip ahead. And if you do that and you don't get all the 120 grit scratches out, well, those 120 grit scratches are still going to be there when you polish. So you have to be very regimented at each stage to get rid of all scratches. So once we're done with that, we go to this. I've got, this is an Eastwood buffing stuff. So there's an emery here, and then this is a white rouge. That's a little bit of an odd combination, but it's what I found to work best, actually. So you use a harder wheel with the emery, and then by the time you get to the white rouge, you're using something that's a lot looser. Then I also have a bunch of these little buffs for getting into corners and things where those won't reach, or where you're gonna round it too much. That's one of the dangers when you get something like this where there's a lot of individual surfaces. If you just try to cram it into a wheel, you'll just end up taking all the definition out of it, and it won't look as crisp and sharp when you're done. So you gotta be slow with that. And then for the sealer, this is the product I use. There are a bunch of different ones out there. You kind of find the one you worked. I've used this one for years. I've used on aluminum wheels and things that aren't coated, and it seems to do a pretty good job for sealing the aluminum. So it'll probably need the sealer, once a year, thereabouts, which I don't think is too big a price to pay. And that is about it.